This interview is taken from Chapter 11 of the Dulce book, titled, A Dulce-Based Security Officer Speaks Out. Question 23. Tell me more about the flash gun. Is it difficult to operate, or is it like the weapon on Star Trek, that can stun, or kill on different modes? Answer. It is an advanced beam weapon that can operate on 3 different phases. Phase 1, like Star Trek, can stun, and maybe kill, if the person has a weak heart. On Phase 2, it can levitate anything no matter what it weighs. Phase 3 is the serious business. It can be used to paralyze anything that is alive, animal, human, alien and plant. On the higher position on the same mode, it can create a temporary death. I assure you, any doctor would certify that person is dead, but their life essence lingers in some strange limbo, some kind of terrible state of non-death. In 1 to 5 hours the person will revive, slowly. First the bodily functions will begin, and in a few minutes, consciousness followed with full awareness. In that mode the alien scientists reprogram the human brain, and plant false information. When the person awakes, he recalls the false information as information he gained through life experience. There is no way for a person to learn the truth. The human mind remembers, and believes completely the false data. If you attempt to inform them, they would laugh, or get angry. They never believe the truth. Their mind always forgets the experience of reprogramming. You asked if the flash gun is difficult to operate. A 2-year-old child could use it with one hand. It resembles a flashlight, with black glass conical inverted lens. On the side are 3 recessed knobs and 3 curved grooves. Each knob is sized differently. The closer the knob to the hand the less the strength. It's that simple. Each knob has 3 strengths also, with automatic stops at each position. The strongest position will vaporize anything that is alive. That mode is so powerful it will leave no trace of what it vaporized. Question 24. Is the weapon called a flash gun, or is there a different name in the manuals? Answer. Everybody calls them flash guns, or more commonly the flash, or my flash, when talking about it. In the manual, it is first introduced as the Armorlux weapon. After that, it is explained as the flash gun. Question 25. What type of security is found at the Dulce base? What else is used against espionage, or unauthorized entry? Answer. I'll mention a few, but it would be nearly impossible to cover it all. The weapons, besides the flash gun, mostly used as a form of sonic. Built in with each light fixture, and most camcorders is a device that could render a man unconscious in seconds with nothing more than a silent tone. At Dulce there also are still, and VCR cameras, eye-print, handprint stations, weight monitors, lasers, ELF, and M equipment, heat sensors, and motion detectors, and quite a few other methods. There is no way you could get very far into the base. If you made it to the 2nd level, you would be spotted within 15 feet. More than likely, you would become an inmate, and never see the light of the surface world again. If you were lucky, you would be reprogrammed, and become one of the countless spies for the ruling class. Question 26. According to certain reports, the Dulce base is host to other aliens that live in level 5. Is that true? Can the humans freely roam, or meet one-to-one in the halls, or is some type of protocol in effect? Answer. There is protocol from the first time you enter the base, and it must be followed every time you see an alien there. From the working class, to the visiting aliens, to the ruling class, there is a never-ending checklist of rules, law, and strict protocol. There is never a chance to roam on the 5th level. The alien housing area is off-limits to any human. The hub is surrounded by security, arsenal, military, and CIA, and FBI sections. The area past the security is one of the most secured areas because it houses so many classified files. The entire east side of the 5th level is off limits except for security personnel holding Ultra 7, security clearance, or higher. The garage on the west side of the 5th level requires Ultra 4 clearance. Question 27. Is there proof available that could confirm the allegations of the underground base, or are we just supposed to believe you? Answer. Many people have asked that one. No, I don't expect people to believe with blind faith. There is tangible proof that has been seen, felt, or inspected by quite a few folks. I am in no position to go on a lecture circuit to explain to every person on a one-to-one basis. I am trying to stay alive. All I can do is state again, that Dulce is a secret facility. They work hard to make sure nobody can find the place. If everyone could easily find it, it wouldn't be a secret facility. I've explained the extreme security methods they use. There is other proof available. Demand that the government admit it. If enough people demand it, they will find a way to explain the base, or at least explain why they must keep it secret. There are many people that work at the Dulce base that know me. I am challenging those co-workers to speak up, at least anonymously. Send a letter, or a telegram, or fax, to confirm what I have explained. In the name of the brave men, women, children and aliens that died trying to let the public know what is going on at the Dulce facility, expose that horrid place before thousands more innocent people are tortured, and die unspeakable deaths. Notes from Branton. There are 5 sets of copies in 5 different boxes in 5 different locations that hold complete proof of everything I have tried to explain. Here is a list of contents of each box, delivered into the safekeeping of 5 individuals known only to Thomas Costello and to the individual recipients. A. 27 sheets of 8 by 10 photographs of aliens, creatures, cages and VOTs. B. 1 silent candid videotape, begins on the computer banks, shows the VOTs, multi-shots of Nightmare Hall, 2 shots of Grays, 1 shot of the terminal showing signs saying to Los Alamos and about 30 seconds of the shuttle train arriving. C. 25 pages of diagrams, chemical formulas and schematics of alien equipment. D. A copy of the new treaty complete with signatures. E. 2 pages of original alien documents signed by Ronald Reagan, as Governor of California. Each page includes Reagan's signature. The original set mentioned above is sealed in 1-piece oxygen-free heavy plastic box. That set includes A. 27 sheets of 8 by 10 with original negatives, B. The videotape, and the original microfilm, from which the videotape was copied. C. The 25 original pages of diagrams, with notations, formulas, alien equipment schematics plus the schematics for the flash gun and my flash gun. D. The treaty with Reagan's signature plus 7 other political signatures and 4 alien signatures. The working flash gun in that box is an extremely dangerous weapon. In the wrong hands, there is no limit on the danger it could inflict. That proof must be protected. But when placed in the hands of certain government agencies, it would not be treated as proof for an alien visitation. That government branch knows the truth and they publicly lie. Think about it like this: do you know, for certain proof, that George Washington lived? Or do you believe what other people said about him? There is no one alive that saw with their own eyes what is claimed about him. You judge all you know about him by what other people said. Columbus said there's a new land, and it was found. I am saying there are aliens in several underground bases in this country and terrible things happen in those places. If I die, before it is proven, search for proof. After all, the Dulce base and the other bases aren't going anywhere. Unlike UFOs themselves, they are not here today and gone tomorrow. If they are there, then there are bound to be some indications of the fact. Question 28. What about the elevators? Do they drop from the surface to the 7th level in a couple of seconds? Do you know anything about them? Are they electrically lifted? Everywhere on the surface world there are elevators made by Otis Elevator Company. Does that company make the elevators at Dulce? Answer. I failed to notice what brand was available in the elevators at the base. I could tell you that there is no elevator anywhere at Dulce that drops from the surface to the 7th level. The security blueprints show the levels are stepped down. Each level drops one floor only. Not even the hub has an express elevator. After the 3rd level, not only would you change elevators, you are weighed and color-coded before you re-enter the car. All the elevators are magnetically controlled, even lights in elevators, as well as all lights on all levels are magnetically induced. The light bulbs are not the type bought on the surface, but a totally different type of light system. The illumination found there is a closer match to natural sunlight than any artificial light on the surface world. The shape of the elevators is unique. If you have ever seen a Tupperware sugar bowl, you could see the shape copied in the elevator. Sort of like an open-ended oval with another half-oval on each side. The elevator shaft matches the shape perfectly. The magnetic controls are in the half-oval shape. If you could stand in or close to the half-ovals, you would feel the slight pull of the power of those magnets. The motion is smooth and silent. There is a nearly unnoticed surge when the motion starts or stops. There are no cables needed, because the lift is magnetic, not electric. Since there are no cables in the elevator cars, there is no chance of them falling. Question 29. I understand that certain groups of cleared individuals in the government are collaborating with alien groups. Is it known how many groups, and of what type they are working with? Answer. I don't know how many groups, or what type they are working with. Question 30. A mysterious security man calling himself Agent Yellowfruit says he worked at Groom Lake, Area 51. The security officer states that he's been in contact with benevolent aliens at the Groom Lake facility. Are you aware of such a group? Answer. Yellowfruit is one of the slang names for Yellow Jack, or Yellow Flag, that shows quarantine and caution in the labs. There are so many different slang names at Dulce Labs that meant quarantine that the workers published a booklet to show the meanings. At Dulce, Yellowfruit are the lab workers, so called from the yellow light outside the decontamination chambers. Banana is the older workers, lemon is the new guys, and so on. Question 31. Is there an alien installation under Groom Lake, or Papoose Lake at the Nevada test site, and are they conducting biological research at these sites? Answer. Most of the stuff at the Groom facility deals with defense. But there is a large storage area in the tunnels that holds thousands of alien craft parts. From what I have heard, the medical tests at the Nevada test site are conducted by, and for the Navy. Question 32. According to my sources, the aerospace companies have a secret underground installation in the Tehachapi Mountains, not far from Rosamond near Edwards AFB. Insiders refer to the Tehachapi installment as the Ant Hill. They are experimenting with advanced technology such as anti-gravity discs. Some have seen basketball-sized floating orbs patrol the facility. Do you have any further information on this? Answer. The California mountains, Tehachapi, Chocolate, Shasta, etc., all have alien security methods and equipment. The basketball-size orbs are used for unmanned patrol. They are silent, but when photographing living beings there is a humming sound. The glow that emits light is magnetic aura. This light is in the visible spectrum, 3,900 angstroms. You can see the light, but the light does not reflect off anything. Question 33. Is there anything you can tell me about the moon, alien installations, atmosphere, the United States bases? Answer. There is not much I can tell you there. I wasn't in the lunar program. I heard there was a lot of equipment sent to the moon between 1959 and 1964 under Project Whiteout. Question 34. How do the aliens use magnetism? Do they use it as an energy source? Is there more we need to know about magnetism? Answer. The aliens use magnetics for everything. They use magnetics as the basic structure for their energy source. The more you learn about magnetics, the better. The human race calls them magnets, the aliens call them lodestar. They have been harvesting lodestars, lodestones, for centuries. Not only that, they want all the magnetic power on Earth. They intend to continue harvesting that power, now and in the future. As long as we were only using magnetic power as an oddity, there was no problem. But in recent times, the human race has begun using magnetic power, and finding more ways to utilize the commodity. There was a treaty made. In the original treaty, the human race, or those who supposedly represented the human race, if you could call it that, didn't mind at all. We considered magnets as hardly more than useless. As people searched for another source for power, we turned to magnetics. The aliens wanted a new treaty. What could we offer? They chose land, underground mining rights, animals, and humans for new experiments. The general public never knew about the treaty. The governmental, Bavarian cultist, heads of the world chose another treaty in 1933. This time we got high technology in exchange. So now, the more we use magnetics, the more they claim humans, and the lands of the USA we were sold in exchange for magnets. If you doubt it, look around. There are token companies that really utilize magnetic power, but are depending on electric-based or ceramic magnets, not lodestar, magnetic oxide of iron, based magnets. Question 35. What do the aliens do with the cow blood, and other parts from mutilated animals? Do they need these fluids for research, or survival? Answer. The aliens use the blood, and body parts for formula to keep them alive, their food, and for use in the growing vats, and for the artificial wombs. Plasma, and amniotic fluid are the two most vital ingredients for their lives. Also, the sap of some plants can keep them alive for months. Most of the plants are parasitic in nature, but red grapes, and okra plants can also be added to the formula to keep them alive, if they have no regular formula. Question 36. Female abductees report being inseminated by aliens. Are they trying to hybridize our species? Answer. Yes, they are breeding slave warriors for the upcoming war with the alien races. The serpentine races are in orbit around Earth, Venus and Mars. Question 37. Abductees have reported that the aliens can pass their bodies, and that of the abductee through window glass. Is this a feat of magic achieved by advanced technology, or is it a psychic power? Answer. The aliens have mastered atomic matter. They can go through walls like we go through water. It is not magic, just physics. We can learn to do the same thing. It has to do with controlling atoms at will. Question 38. Are you in communication with benevolent aliens, or do you have contacts that are? If you are, can you tell us how we can communicate with them? Answer. I am not at liberty to discuss communications with any friendly alien life forms. I can tell you there is a friendly factor active in Costa Rica. I am in direct communication with that factor. I am an active member of the Subgalactic League of Costa Rica. This organization, using a small satellite dish, a television set, and ham radio equipment reached this factor. I might suggest that by using similar equipment, and a low-band frequency, you may reach the same factor. Question 39. Do you stay in the USA? Or do you live abroad? Do you work now? I know you have been on the run for several years. Answer. Yeah, quite a few years. I visit the United States, but it's really dangerous when I do. I've lived in several countries. I spent a few years in Mexico, working as a mercenary soldier. It's rough work, frequently living in the bush, eating whatever I can find. I spent time in South America, fighting the drug cartel. It's not the citizens. It's the secret government, top officials, and American alphabet boys, black ops, FBI, etc. I settled in Costa Rica, bought a small house in Limon. Actually, it is a shanty that someone abandoned. I paid the equivalency of $11 to one of the local constables for the right to call it mine. My name changes when I think someone is asking questions. I've worked in one of the underground bases near the Panama border. It's in the mountains, not very far from a passive but active volcano. It is not as fancy as Dulce, but the people are wonderful. Question 40. What is the best city in Costa Rica for an American to visit, and maybe move to live? Answer. None of them are worth anything, by comparison, but I like Limon. There is a real culture shock when you get past the tourist sections. Inside the urban areas, it's not so bad, but away from the beaten path the picture changes. There are no improvements in the shanties, no sewers, plumbing, or paved roads. But if you stay in the cities, and you don't mind the big difference in the cultures, the countries have a lot to offer. Nice weather, great beaches, and beautiful trees with fruit growing everywhere. Question 41. Are there any other security level names, other than secret, top secret, and ultra? Answer. There are many other security clearances. Here are a few: Umbra, Stellar, G27Z, Triad, UMT, Universal Military Training, and UMS, Universal Military Service, Astral and Subastral. Umbra is higher than Ultra. Notes from Branton. It may be conceivable that some of the higher security clearances are used for the joint human-alien interstellar projects. For instance, Whitley Strieber described an abduction to another planetary sphere where he encountered ancient ruins, aliens, and human personnel dressed in military khakis, and carrying camcorders, automatic weapons, etc. Obviously such personnel would have to possess an extremely high security classification, such as Universal Military Service for instance. The Joint Alien Illuminati, Alternative 3, projects have reportedly taken part in joint offensive operations against the peaceful residents of other worlds. This according to a couple who defected from the Alternative 3 movement after an agent from the Federation warned them about such atrocities. Question 42. Ever see a badge with Maji? Answer. No. Question 43. Since you have lived in Spanish-speaking countries, it's obvious that you are bilingual. What other languages do you speak? Answer. Other than English, the only other languages I speak are Spanish, and Ushu, the common language aliens spoken at Dulce. I speak Spanish fluently, and enough Ushu to keep myself out of trouble. Shortly after I first transferred to Dulce, I took a crash course in Ushu. Anyone that plans to spend more than 1 week working at the base, they are wise to learn the basics. Otherwise, you are required to wait for an escort to get around. All the signs at that base are written in the universally recognized symbolic language. Ushu is logical and easy to learn. Question 44. What are the eating habits of the aliens? Are they carnivores? Answer. That depends whether they are one of the gray worker class, one of the reptilian worker class, or one of the higher developed draconian leaders. Also, the created beings, replicants, type 2 being, or one of the really strange, genetic, mixtures. I'll try to cover a little of each. The formula includes amniotic water, plasma, and several other body parts, raw, usually bovine. This nearly clear mixture with a texture of pureed peaches, and almost in that color. The Greys make the attempt not to eat around the humans, because the odor of it is very unpleasant to any human. They can spend days, or even weeks between feedings. The working class of the reptilians eat meat, insects, and a large variety of plants including vegetables, and fruit. They prefer their meat raw, and very fresh, but have learned to enjoy some cooked meat like rare beef steak. Notes from Branton. According to many abductees, the reptiloids are not above eating human flesh. It has been said that they prefer flesh that is young enough to be free of toxins, yet old enough to be imbued with a lifetime of accumulated emotional energy residue which is resident within the human body. Some abductees claim that certain reptilian factions have such complex biotechnologies that they are able to remove a human's soul energy matrix and place it in a containment box, and use the controlled body for whatever purpose they choose. Some abductees also insist that in some cases the reptiloids can create a clone duplicate of a person in a short amount of time through time warping, and replace the soul energy matrix of a person back into the new cloned body if their disappearance from society would otherwise create too many problems. This way they can ingest the emotional residue-imbued original body without the abductee realizing, in most cases, that their soul memory matrix has been transferred to a cloned body, because they would have experienced a total soul matrix energy transfer and a suppression of any memories relating to the transfer process. The cloned bodies do not possess the integrated emotional residue that the vampirialistic reptiloids apparently crave and find intoxicating in a similar manner as a human on Earth who is addicted to hard drugs. Branton. Unlike the Greys, they eat frequently and usually carry or send for food on their breaks. The ruling caste is secretive about their foods. They have created several dietary myths that they carefully embellish when the chance arrives. One of their favorite legends involves one of their ancestors' ability to eat an entire flock of geese in one setting. They rarely eat in sight of any other species. They carefully choose their food, then carry their meal to their quarters. It was only when dignitaries arrive at the base did they join their meals. They enjoy the same foods we do, and they have been seen secretly munching on a freshly found snail. The human-looking replicants eat some cooked vegetables. They rely on vitamins and liquid protein for sustenance. If they have to eat on the surface world, they can eat whatever they are served, but as soon as possible they regurgitate. Their digestive systems frequently fail to process the food properly. The engineered beings have a special diet, created for their dietary needs. The mixture includes several organ foods blended with plasmatic fluids, amniotic liquids and parasitoplasm materials. These unique animals also enjoy occasional green plants, usually grasses or lettuce. The creatures that are designed to become warriors eat protein-filled liquids. Question 45. In the Dulce papers, copper seems to be high on the importance list. In what methods is copper used? Answer. One of the main uses of copper at Dulce is containment of the magnetic flow. Magnets are used everywhere at the base. The infamous vats interiors are aligned with copper, and the exterior walls are clad with stainless steel. The mechanical arm that stirs the liquid is made of a copper alloy. Other uses include dietary needs in a few of the transbiotic beings. There are several specially made cells, or rooms built first with lead, then magnetic steel then clad in copper. It is in those cells on the fourth level that contain living oral essence. This essence is what you would call a captured disembodied soul or astral body. Note from Branton. This may tie in with the reports of certain remote viewing astral spies who claim to have projected into underground facilities like Dulce, New Mexico, or Pine Gap, Australia, only to have close encounters with these astral containment fields, or have been captured by the same and released after being interrogated via supersensitive electronic equipment. In one case, an Australian remote viewer was probing the Pine Gap facility where he also saw 3 other astral spies. The magnetic, or astral body of one of these people had been captured by such a containment field, which really disturbed him. This man, Robert, also saw greys and reptiloids operating in the deeper levels of Pine Gap, and also Nordic-type humans who were apparently captives, and who did not seem to be very happy about being there. Question 46. Growing multi-species beings, blood formulas, and human parts in vats sounds like a bad plot to a science fiction movie. The doctors and scientists of the world claim you can't mix the species. The concepts mentioned in the Dulce papers sounds far-fetched. Could you provide information that the average surface world reader could understand about similar things? Answer. The doctors and scientists on the surface world may say that, but underground, away from the prying eyes of ethics sports, they do grow transgenous beings. There is a lot of written material available at libraries. One of the best sources is an easy-to-read book published back in 1969, by Prentice Hall International, with the title of The Second Genesis, The Coming Control of Life by Albert Rosenfeld. In this book, they discuss animals that may be especially bred to supply genetically reliable organs for people, and the use of fetal, or embryonic material from which adult-sized organs and tissues may be grown. Also he discusses the fact that embryonic tissue has no immunological activity, therefore it cannot provoke the defense mechanism in the recipient. It will join the body not as a foreign antigen, but as a natural protein. He further discusses solitary generation, commonly called virgin birth, but also known as parthenogenesis. With one virgin birth and 1.6 million births average on the surface of the world, in Dulce that rate is reversed. Occasionally, a normally born human infant is born in the hospital wards on the 7th level. Parthenogenesis is the method used to grow type 2 beings. The now common transsexual surgery on the surface world began at the Dulce base. Men became women on the 7th level labs, and with the 4th level technology, the brainwashing resulted in the eager desire to become a woman, and that poor man, whether a willing or unwilling participant, firmly believes he always wanted to be a woman. No one could convince him to believe the truth. All things are twisted at Dulce. A quote by Dr. Ralph W. Gerard, in The Second Genesis, put in his now classic statement, "There can be no twisted thought without a twisted molecule." Most have originated at Dulce. Question 47. How are the human workers stopped from telling everything about the Dulce base? Answer. Implants, fear threats to harm the families, control, also reprogramming with ELF, extremely low frequency, and drugs are the most common methods to encourage the workers not to divulge the location or daily routine. Question 48. A construction worker at the Anthill, the Northrop Stahakopty base, reports seeing 10-12-foot-tall human-looking beings in lab coats. Who are these guys? Are they from the Hollow Earth? Answer. They are probably inner Earth drones, workers. The deeper you get, the stranger the life forms. The tall men are from the subterranean levels, lower yet are the dwarfed deformed forms. I don't trust either of them. There are other forms that both the tall men and the dwarfed men fear and loathe. They are similar to Bigfoot in appearance, but extremely violent and enjoy eating whatever they find while it is still alive. They are subhuman and demented, with an IQ around 15. The reptiloid, hominoid as opposed to quadruped, or serpentine, life forms stay in caves, or caverns that aren't very deep. They prefer the desert mountains. They use camouflage rather than fighting, but they do carry real rods for protection, flash guns. They do have a symbol, not the hokey snake with wings that I keep seeing in the public, which is used mostly by the Greys, and also as a medical symbol for the Delta Force. The reptoids use a dragon with its tail in its mouth, a circle, with 7 pointed stars in the middle. Notes from Branton. The Hollow Earth theory is one that was postulated by various well-known individuals, including Marshall B. Gardner, Raymond Bernard, William Halley, discoverer of Halley's Comet, Edgar Allan Poe, Edgar Rice Burroughs, John Cleves Sims, John Uri Lloyd and others. Basically the thesis involves what one might refer to as the geoconcavitic sphere theory, or that as the Earth was forming in its molten state the planetary spin created a hollow, or concavity within the center similar to the hollow created by the centrifugal force of a horizontal washing machine following a spin cycle. The theory, which has been postulated in parageological theories, in adventure novels, and in some cases even in alleged visits to the inner world, states that the shell of the Earth averages between 800 to 1,000 miles thick, with an interior surface consisting of oceans and land illuminated perpetually by a sphere of electromagnetic or nuclear energy suspended at the very center of the empty space. There are reputedly funnel-like openings near the polar regions, perpetually concealed by mist created by the collision of cold air from the outside, and hot air from the inside, which permits ingress and egress to and from this inner world. The theory states that the inner surface has its own gravity, yet slightly less than the outer surface gravity. One side theory is that between the inner and outer surface where gravity is nullified there exists a layer of weightless, or low-weight caverns in an eternal state of chaos where minerals, liquids, gases and chemicals continually slam together from the Earth's rotation, causing intense magmatic activity, a virtual inferno, or bottomless pit. Some have theorized that, based on the apocryphal Book of Esdras, chapter 13, which contains non-canonized Jewish legends, that the 10 lost tribes of Israel disappeared beyond the river Sambation, and to a place in the far north where humans never lived before called Arzareth. In the last days, a path would be made through the ice and waters of the north, and the lost tribes would return. There are 3 tribes accounted for as of this writing, or rather 2 tribes, and 2 half-tribes, Judah, Benjamin, half of the Levite tribe, and apparently half of the tribe of Dan if we are to believe the Ethiopian Jews who claim to be descended from Dan. The 13th tribe would be accounted for by the fact that the 2 Josephite tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh are considered distinctive tribes in and of themselves. As for the giants, some believe that these have a direct connection to the 10 12-foot-tall Anakim people mentioned in the Old Testament who were driven out of Palestine, following which the Torah gives no further details as to their fate, although there have been many reports of such giants being encountered in large cavern systems below Alaska, Oregon, California, Utah, Texas, and Mexico, and also reports of ancient grave sites in the western United States and elsewhere where the remains of human giants have reportedly been discovered. Most often they, like the fifth-dimensional Sasquatch people themselves, have been described as being benevolent, unless provoked. Apparently, according to another source, these lower Bigfoot-type creatures, having more of a resemblance to apes than to the more human-like faces and features of the much friendlier Sasquatch people who frequent the surface, dwell in wild cavern systems some 6 or more miles deep, along with other very large and dangerous insectoid and quadruped or serpentine reptilian life forms reminiscent to something from out of a nightmare. This is according to a report I investigated some years ago of a group of speleonautes who reportedly broke into a vast underground labyrinth west and northwest of Cushman, Arkansas, where they encountered these types of creatures, as well as friendly blue-skinned humans who claimed to be descended from a family that had survived an ancient global deluge by taking refuge within a large ship. These ancient people claimed that their ancestors had come to the Americas and discovered the cavern world, wherein they commenced to establish their hidden civilization. Question 49. There have been reports of the Delta Force having black vans with no tires that hover over the ground. How much are we, USA, already interworking with alien cultures? Answer. I haven't seen the black vans you mentioned. We are totally submerged with alien cultures. Very little of the original human cultures have survived. Question 50. How can we, the public, go after, or expose an alien culture which is covert and hidden? Answer. Go for the best shot. That means go after the reptoid. They stay near the surface, they choose to try to hide, and avoid contact. They are soldiers, doing a job, and usually there are 2 or 3 at each job site. They are manning a remote post. They are not to bother the humans unless they are endangering the post. Most of them are not hostile, and won't kidnap you. They may blast you with a flash gun that may paralyze you. You won't remember the flash for an hour or 2, and cause confusion and mild fear. It could cause you to black out, pass out, for a while. It is their way to escape, and buy time to hide any visible equipment. If you know any areas with repeated reptilian sightings, then that is the place for you to look. They are fearsome to meet face to face, and their voices are harsh and whispery, but most of them understand English and several other languages. Wear something with a reptile, not something violent, like St. George killing the dragon, in sight. If you see one, keep your hands open, palm forward, arms down. That is the non-aggression approach. Don't raise your arms, unless told to. Don't carry anything in your hands, or arms. If he doesn't run, walk slowly towards him. Let him speak first. They consider humans repulsive, and hostile, and threatening, with good reason. Don't try to offer him anything, don't touch him, or anything of his. If he hisses at you, back up a couple feet, but don't look away. It simply means he finds you smelly. Don't try to overpower him, he is stronger than 10 or 12 men. Usually, if he hasn't run so far, he is curious, and wants to talk to you. Fight your fear and your thoughts of panic. Question 51. How do we get closer to some kind of data to prove to others that there really is a danger from non-human beings? Answer. Good question. I'm afraid we will find the proof the hard way, when we are invaded. Try to keep a small camera with you at all times. When you search for reptoids, keep it in your pocket. Question 52. Is there a specific location where the public can set up their cameras and equipment to document an alien government base, or their activities? Answer. The problem is, most of the meetings are held in military bases, or underground. The Groom Lake facility does fly several alien craft that regularly fly over unpopulated land that go back and forth from several bases. Southern California has several notable areas. 29 Palms, Lancaster, or Chocolate Mountains are well known for such activities. Question 53. Could you provide us with a copy of your badge, or card you use at Dulce? Answer. Badges, or cards never leave the bases. All exits have bars, or walls of metal. To go out requires using the card. When you use it for an exit slot, the card won't come out. Each time you leave the base, you are issued a new card, with all the usual data about you, plus your weight added, corrected daily. There are several mines in the Chocolate Mountains that open into a base highway, but be aware that they are patrolled regularly, and there are cameras there. Question 54. There are so many types of really far-out aliens seen in TV, movies, magazines, and popular fiction. Is there one type of a fictional unknown race, in your opinion, that fits the term alien? Answer. Yes. There are two, an alien that is totally indescribable, and another would be a pseudo-alien. Question 55. What are the dimensions of the Dulce facility? Answer. There are 1,700 paved miles of roads under Dulce, and northern New Mexico. Towards Los Alamos is another 800 miles of tunnels. The base is still growing, due west. Question 56. What is the top depth? Answer. The first level starts 200 feet from the surface. Each level has a ceiling of 7 feet, except levels 6 and 7, The ceiling there is 45 and 60 feet. There are approximately 45 feet, or more between each level. The average highway ceiling is 25 feet. The hub at the base is 3,000 feet wide. Use a 7.5-minute scale map to try to comprehend the size of the place. Question 57. Are there regular vehicle exits that can be observed from the ground? Answer. Yes, but they are inside Los Alamos. Question 58. Are there aerial exits that can be observed? Answer. 20 miles due north of Dulce, across the border into southern Colorado is a large hangar. It is hidden by a facade of cliffs. Look for an isolated short road on the top of a mesa, with no road to, or from the top. Question 59. Are the ventilation shafts visible? Answer. The ventilation shafts are hidden by bushes, or vents inside caves. There are 5 on the top of the mesa. Be aware there are cameras inside most of the vents. Question 60. Is there external security, and could we recognize them in, or around the town itself? Answer. There is minimal security on the surface. Most of the men, and women, are Air Force, or highway crewmen. There used to be a Best Western motel that hosts, or hires a lot of base workers from Level 1. I don't know if that motel is still operational. Most of the security force live in Santa Fe. Others live at White Pine, Los Alamos. Question 61. Are there security sensors? What type? If so, what is their power source? Answer. Yes, there are many types of sensors: radar, infrared, heat sensors, microwave, EMGW, and satellite. Most of the sensors are powered by magnetic power. The only thing you may notice on the surface would be an occasional satellite dish. Question 62. If you can, give us some information on the upcoming war with the aliens. When does it start? Do you recommend going underground? Answer. The war has already begun. To start, they use weather control devices that can cripple a city in hours. Storms, flood and drought, with those few things they can bring any country to their knees in a hurry. Yes, I do recommend going underground. Choose a location that has a higher elevation than the surrounding terrain. Pick out a cave, or even an abandoned mining shaft, or two. Bury a cache of supplies, including food and water, near these locations. Place the supplies in heavy plastic boxes that have tight lids, to prevent the destruction by earth-burrowing rodents and insects. Then plan to live like a squatter when it becomes necessary. If you own land, create a system of tunnels, and tell no one. Use your tunnels to secrete your supplies, and plan to live in those corridors when you must. Question 63. What about the reptilian ships that are in orbit around the equator? Are they cloaked? Answer. They are not cloaked the way you may think. It's more like nobody is learning to see, even though it is in plain sight. Like the mailman becomes invisible because you are so used to seeing him you never noticed he is alive. One of the favorite methods of covert activities is to hide their operation in such an obvious way, or place, that no one would suspect it is covert. Notes from Branton. Presumably including the original 2 planetoids that arrived in geosynchronous orbits around Earth at 400 and 600 miles up in 1953. This reportedly led to an NSA project which successfully communicated with the gray aliens, and resulted in a contact landing treaty scenario involving President Eisenhower and other executive military-industrial officials at Muroc, Edwards, Holloman Air Force bases in 1954. Hiding entrances to underground bases beneath religious shrines, federal buildings, mining works, malls, libraries, lodges, hotels, or basically areas that one would consider the least likely places to hide, or accommodate an entrance to an underground facility. The underground New World Order FEMA facilities throughout the United States apparently utilized this type of concealment with many of their bases. Question 64. What are the Greys susceptible to? Answer. The Greys are photosensitive. Any bright light hurts their eyes. They avoid sunlight, and travel at night. Camera flashes causes them to back up. It could be used as a weapon against them, but they recover quickly. It could buy enough time to escape. Use commands, or nonsensical words in the form of commands and they will back up. Their brain is more logical than ours, and they do not create fun. They do not understand poetry either. What really confuses them is saying things in pig Latin. We learned it in a hurry, and used it against them, the Greys, in the Dulce Wars. Question 65. Can Greys read your intentions if you came up behind one? Answer. Yes. They read your intent, because they use your body's frequency. The human race broadcasts a frequency that they recognize as an electromagnetic impulse. Each person has a slightly different frequency. That difference is what we call personality. When a human thinks, they broadcast strong impulses. In the case of fear, the frequency is loud and easy to recognize. By the same right, a calm and composed mindset should be far more difficult to recognize. Question 66. Can we shield ourselves against their mental control? Answer. We can shield ourselves against them, however 95% of the human race never try to control their thoughts, and controlling our own thoughts is the best weapon. The average person rarely thinks in a clear pattern. That allows the brain to think in a chaotic way. Control your thoughts, and you can stop the aliens attempting to abduct and control you. Controlling my own thoughts have kept me alive for years. Question 67. Could you shed some light on the type of humans the aliens are looking for when they abduct? Answer. I can tell you that the most common are petite women in their early 20s, or early 30s, dark-haired boys between 5 to 9, small to medium-sized men in their mid-20s to mid-40s. But, let me stress that there are all types of people being held against their will in the dull space. There are tall heavy men, and women, teenagers, elderly folks and very young girls in the cages, and avots. I only mention the most common age size are the small young men, and petite women. The boys are favored because at that age their bodies are rapidly growing, and their atomic material is adaptable in the transfer chamber. The young small women are frequently very fertile. The men are used for sperm. I have no idea why they prefer small to average size men. Question 68. Did you ever see twins, or triplets, etc.? Answer. Since you mentioned it, no. It never crossed my mind to search for them. But then that doesn't mean they aren't there. There is no way I could have seen everybody at that huge complex. Question 69. What is the prevalent human race at the dull space? I am curious about both the human workers and the inmates. Answer. The human workforce is made of people from every nation on the surface world. The one thing they share is that they all speak English. If you are asking if there are white, black, red, yellow and brown skin color, again I'll have to say that there is no prevalent race there. As for inmates, I could see all races there. From what I could see, it looked like there were more white people, but again, I saw a constant flow of different people. Many, I think, were only there for a few hours. Question 70. Please explain the method they use to identify each inmate. Answer. No one has a name. When first brought to this facility, they were issued one large number. Usually that code has a mixture of numbers and letters. They show the place, how, and by who, followed by the time, age, sex, and finally the personal number, their SS number. Question 71. With that huge facility, trash and garbage must be a real problem. How do they dispose of it? Answer. It was never a problem. Some of it is reformed or melted down then remade. Some of the wet garbage is eaten by bacterial forms, and what's left is vaporized in a vat-like chamber. The residue of that action, it takes them months to get enough to measure, is used in a complex lye, and used to fertilize crops. Question 72. Where is your family? Not just your wife and son, but parents and siblings. Answer. Kathy and Eric are still missing. My parents died in a car crash when I was in my teens. I have one brother. If he is alive, I suspect he is inside an underground base somewhere. I haven't heard from him for several years. Please pray for them, please. Question 73. What is your birth date, and where were you born? Answer. April 23, 1941, Glen Ellen, actually in a farm at home, in the place now called Glen Ellen. My birth certificate list is at Wheaton. Question 74. You have been through so much, and yet keep fighting. What is your biggest fear? Answer. That the general public will forget the trapped innocent people in the despicable place, and will ignore the hundreds of children, women, and men added to that place every month.